What's happening, guys? Will Robinson here from Robinson's Auto Tools and Time.com. Welcome back. So today we have this 2011 Honda Pilot. It's got the 3.5 V6 and it's here for its 100K service. We'll be doing the time belt, water pump, tensioner, the whole 9 yards. 7, 8. On this one, it's not 100% necessary to remove this wheel well cover, but it is nice to give yourself some extra room when you can. So it's pretty quick, pretty straightforward. There's a lot of these button style retaining clips, some Phillips head screws, a couple 10mm along the perimeter. There's a lot of ways to use these clips. Just get yourself a screwdriver. So, and that works good. If you can't figure that out, I don't know if you should be doing a timing belt and water pump. If you have one that the plastic just breaks off the top, just take and push that center right through it and get behind it. You can use a pair of dikes, just pop it out. That one's going to be trash. Okay, so next you see that you have your tensioner here. We're going to do this from the bottom side. You can do this from the top side. This tensioner uses a lot of tension, so it's going to take a little bit of force. So I'm using a 19mm and a pretty long ratchet. So you're going to have to just hold steady pressure down, and you'll actually feel it starting to compress. If you try to go fast, it's just going to feel like it's not moving at all, but just hold a steady down pressure on it. Right there, and you'll feel it bottom out. Okay. So since this belt is relatively new, we actually just put it on last week, but we didn't have all the parts necessary to complete the job, so I ended up throwing a new belt on anyway. But this is, I'm just marking a direction, that way I put it back on in the same manner. Next, we're going to take and remove the bolt from the crank, the harmonic balancer. These can be a real bear on some of these vehicles. And let's see, let's hope for the best. My Ingersoll Ram usually pulls through with a shallow socket. Anybody that's ever done one of these knows exactly what I'm going through. I've seen Erico use a special socket on this, but I don't have that socket. So what I'm going to do is something I've done many times in the past. I have this actual socket, I believe what it is. It's a pretty big one. It's a 2 9/16. And then I take an extension and put it through the back side. I have 19mm. I put it in there like so, right? This socket allows me to grab here with something, and it fits over top, like so. I just put this in a position where I can hold the harmonic balancer from spinning, and I put a breaker bar or a big ratchet on here, just to break it loose. Once it breaks loose, it's all downhill from there. Wish me luck, guys. Big old cheater bar. I'm gonna put something on this. Maybe one more cheater bar. Oh God. Somehow I was able to get it, guys. You can see the contraption that I came up with. That's going to be one of your biggest challenges. And I put a big old cheater bar on here. I was able to break it loose. It wasn't easy. It's not easy to be me. Or anybody working on a pulley. And then magically it's loose. And everything just falls apart. Like, really? That's why you would never want that bolt coming loose, because it'll just fall apart. Next, right here on the tensioner, we removed, okay, first we removed that lower bolt on the hydraulic cylinder. Now you can see everything moves around freely. Then you have the swivel point that all this is swiveling on, and that's that center bolt right in the center of this pulley. We're going to remove that next. 17 millimeter. Okay, it's loose. Alright, don't want to lose that. I had this little washer thing behind there. I'm going to remove this lower cover while we're here. We got all these 10 millimeters around the perimeter. Alright, we'll pop it out. Top one should come out first. So when we put it back together, we'll put the bottom on first and then do the top ones. You got this little retaining washer. Alright, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little mark right here. The crank, and then there's a mark right here. I'll highlight it so you can see it. Just put the crank bolt back in. Alright, so I got them lined up essentially where I think they belong. Close. We'll make sure we're not 180 out. Once we lower it down, I may have to do one more complete revolution. Alright, next we want to just take and pop this top cover off. There's this little turn tabs. Pretty easy, straightforward. It just pops out. You'll see the little turn things there. The power steering pump's going to be in our way to remove that motor mount. I got to remove the water pump, which is behind that motor mount. And we're going to take and suck out some power steering from this reservoir, just to try to keep from making a mess. We won't get it all. Pull it up like so, because it might make a mess. This is the return side. Okay, not too bad. I'll just tuck this back out of our way. We got a little bit of oil down there, but not bad. Next we got a couple 12 millimeters like I mentioned before. I believe they're 12. One here and one down below. Let's try that. Let's see, we got one here. Okay. We got this one more bolt down here. Got that all broke loose. 12 millimeter on a swivel for that one. Which is now on the floor. I wonder if I pop that clip. So you don't want to go bending this stuff too much, but it might move just enough. You know what I mean? Let me take this 10 millimeter out here. It might not be perfect. Maybe it'll move just enough to do what we gotta do. You know, to help our hands get in there. Oh yeah. Alright, now we're gonna just take and try to find a spot where we can. Alright, just to make life a little bit easier, I took and I popped this cover. I'm not going to remove all this, but I'm going to take the bolts out so I can manipulate this main bracket just a little bit to give us enough flexibility in the AC line so we're not torquing them to get to some other components. So we got a 10 millimeters way down low here. And you'll see this once you start. One more down low, you just gotta move a plug out of your way. couple plugs and you can have this thing totally out of your way. I think this will give you just enough room, if I remember correctly, to pull that power steering pump up and out of your way, like so. Alright, we can do this in many ways, but what I'm going to do next, just to get a visual in on the timing belt, I'm going to take and remove the two covers. So you have 10 millimeters around the perimeter, front and back. We'll just take and remove them. Alright, so I just popped all the wire looms off. Pretty straightforward, just push on these little tabs. Pick them up off. You got the main harness and then you have this harness. We're going to have two bolts here on the motor mount. I know you can't, it's going to be a little hard to see them at the moment. But 1, 2, and then you could take the main bolt out, which goes all the way through, or we could simply leave that in. Just remove these two and the 3 bolts. There's one here, one in the back, and one in the other side. But hopefully you'll get a better picture once I start moving forward. Place a jack underneath the oil pan with a block of wood and just take a little bit of pressure off the engine. Alright. One way down here, 17. This one. And we have one on the back side in the same spot. We got one more down in here. Now we got 2 more bolts right here. There's a ground wire on that little bracket down there. So let's just take this little bracket off. Oh, wait, I need 10. Just take the whole bracket off. Just move that out of the way. Alright, so 14 millimeter. Okay, let's just break these 2 loose. Okay. Remember, jack underneath the oil pan. Doing good. There it is. You can put it, you can take and, that's removing it in one piece. If you take this one center bolt out, you could separate this bracket if you really wanted to. Alright, now we got to take and remove this motor mount. There's 3 14 millimeter bolts. Alright, we got them 3 out. There's a 10 millimeter here we missed right here. Okay. Now everything is officially out of our way. If you remember down low, we marked the 2 spots. Alright. Now if you come up here on the cam, you see I have a line there and a line there. That's lined up. That's on the front bank. If you come back to the back bank, you'll see that line is facing down. So that's where you gotta be careful. That means we're 180 out. We want both of those lines facing up. That mark, that mark. We want the back bank to look exactly the same. We want all 3 reference points exact. And as you can see, we're off. So we got to turn it 180 degrees. So 1 revolution in the crank will line both of these marks up. You're going to feel the compression. Work your way through it. Be careful once you get close. If you don't want to pop around. Alright, that's it right there. We'll leave it there and we'll take a peek up top. Alright, we turned it 1 complete revolution on the crank. Got that yellow mark lined up with that yellow mark. come up here. We got that line lined up with that line, pretty much that tooth lined up with that mark. We come back here, we got that mark lined up with that mark, essentially that tooth. Okay. Bam. See the yellow marks. Okay, so now we're back underneath. We're looking up at the time belt assembly. You'll see your tensioner right over here. Okay, we have two 10 millimeters, one here and one here. We're going to take and remove those two. One. Okay. That's your tensioner. When I tilted that forward, I have some, I don't know if that's from the power steering leaking down. I don't think so because it's so far back. I think the tensioner seal was actually going. Good thing we're in here. Okay, so that should have loosened our time belt up for us to the point where we can remove it. Grab it with two fingers like that. Always look at your routing, but it's pretty self-explanatory. But you'll see this pretty much goes there, and this one here, and they feel fine. But we're in here, so let's take and zip them out now. Looks like a 14, if I had to guess. Okay. Looks like it's gonna be tight all the way. Maybe it has something on it. Okay. Remove that. Oh, it feels like it broke right. Yeah, see, as soon as that one broke loose, it comes out with your fingers. Okay, that's that one. Okay, next we're going to take and remove the water pump. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe that's all we have. Bolts. I'm going to put a large catch pan under the vehicle here and let the antifreeze drain itself from this point. You could drain it from the radiator pepcock, and but the block is still going to have some remaining fluid in there, so we'll just let it drain itself to its natural level here. All these bolts are easily reached from up top. I don't think you guys want to be standing right here. So I'm going to move you out of the way, and I'm going to pop that. Let that drain slowly down into our pan. You guys would have been just fine. It's just draining out of the one corner. Out comes the water pump. Abracadabra. Now we're just going to come in here and we're going to just wipe everything down. You can see they had some kind of red Loctite or something in that one. I'm not sure. But this surface is usually really good on these. Remember, it's an O-ring. No need to use any abrasive approaches on this one. The owner opted to go OEM, so there's your part number. Alright, so we got our new OEM water pump. You'll see that there's two dowel pins. There's one here and one back here. That is pretty much your alignment pins. There's an O-ring there, so you don't have to use any kind of sealer on this. Just take and put her up in place, and you'll feel those dowel pins enter their locating holes, and it'll hold itself in place like so. Grab your hardware. We'll just snug them in with our fingers. You can do all this from up top as well. I just have it right here. It's easy to get to. And my back isn't feeling the best today. But we're making do. Making this video for you. I've been letting you guys go for too long. So these call for like 8.7 foot-pounds. I think that somewhere between 105 and 108 inch-pounds. You'll be safe. Just gonna snug these down with my little ratchet first. Make life a little bit easier for us. It's good. 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 All right. Get everything rinsed down. Just gonna blow everything down. It should go from up top, but new tensioner. Your new tensioner will have a pin. Do not pull that pin. You will need to reset it if you do. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad because you don't want to remove it. Just leave it be. Don't let it get the best of you. Please. I know it's tempting. Oh man, so tempting. I'm not doing it, guys. I am not pulling the pin. Not gonna do it. You'll probably find that these are right around the same torque as the water pump. But I just usually run them down by hand. Get them nice and snug, evenly. Okay. Okay, good. Pull this piece out of your old tensioner. Put it through the back side like so. So go up here. That'll be your 9/16. I'll look up the torque specs on these for you. Okay. Good. This next one, you want to put a little Loctite on the bolt. Put it in there so. Make sure your shoulder is facing in. This has like a shoulder bolt that'll center it. And the inner race on the back side has a larger ledge. So it'll push against the block or the housing, whatever that might be. This one was a real bear coming all the way out. But just the original Loctite. Might have to ratchet that one in a little bit. Alright, now we'll get a torque wrench and we'll torque them to spec. Okay. Okay, well my battery died in a pretty important spot. However, I marked the back side of the cog, that one tooth. That way it's easier to see the reference marks. Once we're back in, I did the same thing, but I took and I removed the one tensioner pulley to give us more slack, because we want to have all of our, we don't want any slack on this side. So when you wrap this around, you pull it all tight and you continue in this direction, up around this pulley and down. Now put all your slack over here So at this point, I think I'm gonna just go down below. Okay, we got the tensioner back in place, torque to spec. Pin has not been pulled yet. We're gonna go up top. We're gonna verify those marks one more time. Looks good here. All right, back underneath. This video is probably gonna be shot. I'll see when I go to edit it. But I just feel like I'm not getting very good angles. It's time to pull the pin. Moment we all been waiting for. Oh, there she goes. That's gonna release the pressure. Apply tension to the side of the belt. Now what I'm going to do is turn this 2 complete revolutions. Make sure we have no bind and we don't feel anything funny. Take a look. One more once over. Now that you're underneath, inspect all your work. Everything's torqued. Everything looks good. All right. Do it. We're going to be going in a clockwise rotation, 2 complete revolutions. If you feel anything, stop. Should feel compression, which is good. Always go clockwise. This is putting all the slack onto the tensioner. As you're pulling down, all the slack is going onto this side of the belt. The tensioner is taking up that slack. It's one turn. One more. That looks really close. Looking pretty close here. Now we're going to go back up top and check our marks. On the money, it's the front cam. On the money, that's the back cam. I'll go over this with a mirror one more time. And on the money, that's the crank. I will take and fill this with antifreeze at this time. There is a couple remaining bolts on that water pump, but we're not going to pressurize it. We just want to make sure there's no surprises. The time it takes to do a video like this, guys. Holy moly. I know I'm leaving out so many details. I hope it's even worth producing. We'll just top this off with coolant. Like I said, make sure there's no surprises. Should be pretty good. I was going to show you a vacuum fill method. However, with the 2 bolts missing, I don't know if I want to go doing anything out of the ordinary on this. This is actually the second jug. Alright, now I'll take and put the motor mount back in there real quick. I got some Loctite on the lower bolt. I'll take and remove this for now. Should go in there just like so. I sure hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Right around 33 with these. Okay. The next one we'll get from underneath. Okay. Look over everything, give everything a once over. It all looks good. We're going to take and zip this bolt back out. 3/4. Remember to put this piece back on. Very important. I'm just going to take and put the lower cover up. Okay, last chance to look over everything. while we're here, we're gonna reinstall our harmonic balancer. Yeah, the key's still in there. Just line it up like so. And this is where it gets a little tricky because it has a weird sequence to tighten in these. And I don't have the proper tool. I just grab it from the outside. Well, you've seen the tool I used earlier to take it apart. But you can purchase the correct tool, make it a lot easier for you. I believe it's 47 foot-pounds and then 60 degrees. So one of these days, I will purchase the correct tool. Just wrench on here like so and let it turn until it hits the body. Okay, so that's 46 foot-pounds. I have this angle finder. We will place on here like so. We'll take and we'll set this to 0. Okay, I have to take and turn that to 60. It's going to be tight. One more little click. There, 60. You can't really get it any tighter. It's pretty much as tight as you could get it. Okay, I'm gonna go back up top. We're gonna take and put the covers on. It's gonna be pretty straightforward. Remember, the back cover has that little loom for the wire. Just put it on there. All the bolts are the same with these collars. Just run them down tight. Same thing with the front cover. We'll put that on. Let's put this bolt on before we forget about that. I'm gonna take and run that down tight, and I'll get back to you as soon as we're done there. Okay, timing covers are all back on. Everything is tight, both sides, pretty self-explanatory. Now we're gonna take and reinstall the motor mount. Essentially, as you've seen, I took it off in one piece. I'm gonna put it back in one piece. Same way you took it out. Okay, motor mount's all back in, tightened. This is still loose. I put that ground bracket back on as well, right there. Tight, 10 millimeter. That bolt's tight, the one underneath's tight, so is the back one. And so are those two. So now we're gonna slip in the power steering pump. Pretty much just pull this back, slide it in, put our 2 retaining bolts on, the same way we removed it. Power steering pump is back in, one bolt here tight. One more bolt down low, in and tight. I took it apart, you'll know exactly how it goes back together. Just reverse it. Next we could take and install the reservoir hose and rebolt down all the retaining bolts here. Pretty straightforward. 1, 2. Right down underneath there is the third one. Then we pop the plastic cover back on. Also reinstalled that retaining bolt right there. Everything looks good up top. Alright, let's go underneath, put the tensioner back on. We're going to take and reinstall the tensioner. Pretty much put it up in there in place, just the way you took it out. Okay, tensioner is all reinstalled. In, tight. We're going to take a 3/4 inch wrench on there, 3/4 inch socket with a long ratchet, and we'll route the serpentine belt around. I'll give you a shot. Okay, we have our serpentine belt all routed. I will give you a shot of a diagram. I run down the street to get power steering fluid. Just so you get everything. I'll show you what happens sometimes. These rubbers, pop these rubbers out here. Pop them back in here. all time. Here's one. There you go. Same front ones. Everything's in. We just need power steering fluid. Got some power steering fluid in there now. Make sure you use Honda power steering fluid. I'm going to start it up. A little bit more. Everything's sounding fantastic. Right there. So level on the side. Top off our reservoir a little bit here. This funnel actually fits these necks like perfect. So I just put it in there like that. And it lets all the air burp out. To the max. Right there. I'm pretty sure we're good. Everything sounds really good. Back on. Everything looks good. We'll let it get nice and hot. Wait for the pans to kick on. I'm going to turn it over back and forth. Everything sounds good. While this is warming up, I'm going to take and start cleaning up a little bit, knock the lift out from underneath it, and we're going to take it for a ride. It's warming up, it's just expanding, so what I'm going to do is just suck some of the fluid out, put the cap on it. Alright, I'm going to take it for a ride. Hey guys, here we go. First ride. Doing some construction around the building. Gonna get all new doors. Man, they're redoing everything. Thank God. Much deserved. Much needed. As you see, 109,000. Everything feels fantastic so far. Temperature gauge is hanging right there. Cooling fan just came on once. Checked the fluid, everything looks good. I'm gonna take it for a nice little ride. Alright, first try. Feels good.